Welcome back, guys. This video is all about JavaScript functions. So let's get started in the usual way. So create a functions folder, which is number 9. And then open up the functions folder inside your text editor. And then change the title to functions. And then just delete the sample code there. Okay, so a function is basically a block of code which we can call when required. So rather than repeating the same code more than once, we can write it once and place it inside a function, and then we can call that function by its name to run it. So a function looks a little bit like this. So we use the function keyword and then give the function a name. So I'm going to call it my function. And then we need to use the curly brackets afterwards. And then the code that we're going to put inside the function goes between curly braces, just like that. And I'm going to get started with a simple alert. So I'm just going to alert some text. Function is working. So once we've created a function, we'll then need to invoke it or call it by its function name. So in our case, it's my function, and we need to remember to put the brackets afterwards and the semicolon. So save that. There we go. So there's our function working. So we can put pretty much any code we want between the curly braces, and it will run every time it's called. So if we create a couple of variables, so variable A, we can perform some calculations inside the function, and then variable B, let's set that to 10, and then we can access these variables inside the function. So I'm going to create a variable C, and that's going to be the sum of A multiplied by B. So A, and then the star and B, and then display the value of C with a document write. Okay, so now every time we call my function, we should get the calculation being performed, and then the result of the calculation being printed to the screen. So save and refresh, and then we get the value appearing on the screen. So to help you understand functions a little bit better and exactly what they do, let's create a real-life example of how we could use a function in a game. So we've had a game, and we had a variable which sets the score, and then the variable called lives, which sets the number of lives the player has, and then the variable of game over, and this is set to a boolean value, which is true or false. So while the game's running, we want that to be false to start with. So in this case, a good use of a function maybe to reduce the number of lives that the player has. So rather than write that code out every time the player lost a life, we could simply call the function. So create a function, and we'll call this life lost. So every time the player loses a life, we would then reset the score back to 0. And we could also decrement the number of lives by 1. And we'd also set game over to be equal to true. And then once the game's over, we'd maybe want to set a message on the screen. So document write, and I'm going to put this between level 2 headings. So game over, and then we'll tell the user how many lives they have left. So you have, and then we'll display the number of lives. I'll just remove that sidebar to get a bit more room. So to print the number of lives, we can add the lives variable. So after the number, we'll add the string lives left, and then close off the level 2 heading. I'll probably need a space there actually. So let's save that. and then we'll call the function life lost, and let's take a look. Great, so now we've got the message appearing, and the 10 lives that we started off with has now been reduced down to 9, and we can do that again, and that should reduce by 1 every time. So I hope that examples give you a better idea of how we can use functions in JavaScript, and in the next video we'll continue on by taking a look at function parameters.